The Game Awards nominees got revealed a few weeks ago, and this got me thinking. Video game genres are stupid. They are really dumb in the way they're organized. The industry seems to have a really confusing way of going about this. It's often difficult to even understand what it even means when someone claims a game is an action game, or an action adventure game, or role-playing game. Is this an action game? Wait, let me look back a couple years. Okay, so in 2016 it was nominated for Best Action Adventure Game. So, Uncharted's an action adventure game. But wait, what won? Oh, Dishonored 2 won. So, Immersive Sims are action adventure games? But wait, Deathloop is only nominated as an action game. Why isn't it an action adventure game then? You're climbing around and exploring areas, so does that constitute an adventure game? Wait, Far Cry 6 is only an action game? You explore a whole ass country in that game. Does that not qualify as an adventure? What is an action adventure game? You see what I mean? Or let's look at the RPG genre. I think the best-selling RPG of all time is considered to be Skyrim, but I've heard people say Assassin's Creed is now an RPG too. But when I was growing up, if someone said RPG, the first thought in my mind would be Final Fantasy. However, if I asked a person who plays a lot of D&D what they considered an RPG, I'd probably hear something like Baldur's Gate or Divinity. Is it because there are parties in these games and that's what makes them RPGs? Well, in Fallout and the Elder Scrolls, I'm largely just running around as a solo character, but they're widely considered RPGs. Is it because we make our own characters and we make choices for them? Well then, games like The Witcher and Final Fantasy don't really meet that criteria. Is it because we level up? Well, we level up in many games. Does that make Call of Duty or Horizon Zero Dawn an RPG? The point of my long ramble isn't just to complain about word choice. I understand why on the marketing side they use broad terms like action, first-person shooter, or RPG, because simplicity and clarity is generally the best way to find a new audience. My focus is more towards the larger gaming community and gaming press, people familiar with gaming. Oftentimes, it can feel like people are saying the same sentences and 100 people could mean 100 different things with the same words. I think that the breadth and diversity of games in the modern market is too large to limit their classification to a handful of words. I've heard some people say classifying games as roguelikes or souls-likes can come off as kind of lazy or messy, and while I agree with using like as a suffix can be messy and confusing, I do think the general idea has some merit. There are many games that have combat, leveling, or exploration like the Souls games, but what generally describes a Souls-like game is a game with an emphasis on difficulty where death is used as a learning lesson. And in one way or another, death has a penalty or consequence on the player. All Souls games try to evoke a somewhat similar thought process in the player, a very cautious, careful, and considerate minute-to-minute thought process. Other games like Zelda and Monster Hunter may share many gameplay similarities, but they evoke very different thought processes in their players. I think this emphasis on describing the shared thought processes games evoke is an effective way to classify them. I think another effective way is to classify games by their design philosophy. I remember a few years ago I was watching the Easy Allies podcast and a bunch of the allies were making fun of Michael Huber for using the term Immersive Sim to describe games like Dishonored or Deus Ex. Now I could understand people making fun of it for sounding silly, but we literally call certain games role-playing games, where in reality, we play a role in almost any game. Game genres have sounded dumb since their creation. But I think classifiers like Immersive Sim are handy because it helps to highlight the design philosophy or heritage of a game. It lets me know it's a game heavy on systemic design and design consistency, heavy on environmental storytelling and contextual and logical environmental design. And lastly, it's centered around player agency in the world. These games may look like or play like other games, like stealth games or shooters or RPGs, But what makes them specific, unique, and forms their identity is their adherence to the design philosophies originated by people like Warren Spector and the creators of Ultima Underworld. These games can play very differently, but remain very much related. I think by diversifying the way we classify our games and also making these classifications more specific, we can more effectively communicate the ideas, designs, and the ethos of a game. So next time you hear someone making a claim like, "I'm making a new genre of game," like Kojima said about Death Stranding, it may sound silly, but maybe there is more to it than just it looking like a game with traversal, looting, and combat in an open world. Maybe it's trying to build a new philosophy in game design, or evoke a new thought process in its players. But hey, that's just my thoughts on what I consider genres in games. If you agree, cool. If you don't, what does my opinion matter? I'm some dude rambling on the internet. But thanks if you made it this far. Talk to you later.